I took note of early in your congressional career, you sussed out Lloyd Austin. And by the way, every single person in our military, even at the high end of it under Joe Biden, isn't a bad person, isn't a bad strategist, but you seem to think that this guy in particular didn't have it. How did you know?
Well, one, I've talked to people who've actually served under Lloyd Austin when he was a flag officer, and they've talked about the fact that most of his promotions was part of that kind of the diversity portion of this. I mean, that's the honest truth from many of the commanders who had actually served with him. Now you fast forward into what has he done since he's become the Secretary of Defense. He's failed horribly in prioritizing the things like being ready, having us have the right equipment, making sure that we're prioritizing increased lethality. Instead, we're on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which has resulted in 33,000 plus people who no longer want to serve in our recruitment deficit, plus the 9,600 people who are unconstitutionally purged for refusing the vaccine for religious or medical freedom reasons.
Yeah, where's their inclusion?
Exactly.
They seem to be missing out on the inclusion part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion, because if you were a patriotic American, a devout Christian, someone of any faith that had a legitimate basis to seek an exemption, you got totally screwed. You were excluded explicitly. So we go through all this. Lloyd Austin screws up the vax mandate. You were very critical of the Afghanistan stuff. And here's what the Lloyd Austin defenders would say on the Afghanistan withdrawal. Well, that was the State Department's fault. We weren't real, we would have done it differently, but really at the end of the day, the White House listened to Blinken and the State Department and this belief that there would be this durable Afghan government led by Ghani or whomever,
which they knew was never the case.
Yeah, well, it was a patina. It was just a money laundering operation with a lot of those guys.
Well, but it has been for a long time. I think the further investigation after we remove people like Secretary of Austin, who has a dereliction of duty, we need to be doing investigations into these defense contractors who is responsible for the training, like NPRS or any of the others, and saying, you were giving reports to say that this battalion was ready to fight and had the necessary sustainability. Clearly that was wrong. Were you feeding bad intel to continue your contracts or continue to try and bleed the government dry? There's a bigger portion of this that we need to be looking at outside of procurement reform and how the military-industrial complex works. This needs to be about people who are signing up to do a job that are not scared to tell the president when he's right and when he's wrong. Secretary Lloyd had no escalation of force. He had no rules of engagement, and that's what resulted in 13 heroes losing their lives and 13 new brave Gold Star families.
Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel with notifications turned on. You won't want to miss any of the breaking news.